I keep getting drawn into this Derek Chauvin trial. Day one was a lot. Day one, they played 9 minutes and 29 seconds of a snuff film of a brutal murder. We all got to witness it again, and it opened and triggered, opened some fresh wounds that were crusted over a little bit, just ripped it right open again. And that fury, the fury of the helplessness, because for many of us watching what happened to Derek Chauvin, many of us were the bystanders, pleading, knowing that if we got involved, we would either be shot or maced, put in jail ourselves. And all of the people now second guessing themselves, even that little 8-year-old, now 9-year-old baby, the 17-year-old who took the video, all questioning, could I have done something to save George Floyd's life? The paramedic, the firefighter who was on the scene trying to save this man's life could not. And that frustration, the anger, the young man today in court who took the $20 bill and called the police. Should I have not called the police? If I had just not called the police, George Floyd would be, and all of them are second guessing themselves and creating blame for themselves when the only culprit in this, there's four actually. The main culprit is Derek Chauvin and his three accomplices, three people who lacked the humanity to do their job, which was to serve and protect the people in their custody, because we're all innocent until proven guilty, right? In a court of law, isn't that what you're taught? You're a lawyer, Don. Isn't that what we're taught?
Yeah, it is what we're taught. And I won't even say unfortunately. I think this is a fortunate opportunity for us to show that we are better people than pieces of shit like Derek Chauvin, right? We are going to give him the presumption of innocence. We are going to give him due process, which he is due as an American citizen, which, by the way, he did not give George Floyd. And probably several more people before George Floyd, who he just didn't happen to get caught on tape brutalizing and lynching. It was a lot, and I had forgotten how horrific the whole thing was. You know, we knew what happened to George Floyd. We'd seen the video, but every time you turn on the television over the course of yesterday, it was on. And it was different people vividly describing how they felt watching it and how they, like you said, felt helpless. And then you start to think, well, why didn't somebody just run up on them? Because they would have killed you, you know? And because, by the way, there were 3 police strategically placed buttressing Derek Chauvin as accessories to this murder. It just was really despicable. And not only Derek Chauvin, but the 3 officers and a system that allows this to happen to a fellow human is what's on trial today. And the whole damn system is guilty. I know I didn't make that up. I don't remember who said it, but we are in a sick place in this country where Derek Chauvin does not just plead guilty immediately. And you know, your lawyer, you know, attempting to make all of the eyewitnesses out to have been angry. Well, hell yeah, I was angry. Saw you killing a man in front of me. I was angry, and there's nothing wrong with that. It was just, it was despicable. It's traumatic, and it has just reopened a lot of these really, really icky feelings for a lot of people. And I think one of the worst things about it is almost like when you look at COVID, the whole damn thing was so preventable. If you had got your ass up off of this brother for 5 seconds, for just get up. Who does this? And he was, you know, it was just so inhumane and such a despicable act that it's very rare in human history that we've seen such a despicable act on film, uninterrupted like that. And it all came back. I mean, we had kind of gotten to a place where we'd never forget, but we contextualized it. And yesterday it all came back, and that's just not a good feeling for anybody really today.
No. And I like the juxtaposition to COVID, because what is on trial is America, not just our justice system.
Yes.
The entire country, the entire nation is on trial. And they're going to, you know, people like his defense attorney is horrible. No, he's doing what he's paid to do. I couldn't defend him if I were a lawyer. If they called me and offered me a bucket of money, I would say, nope, I can't stand there and make a case. But you went to law school, so
Yeah.
moot court. You're supposed to be able to argue all sides of this. As an attorney, is his attorney doing he has to do a good job, or else there'll be some case for an appeal. So he has to do a great job, right? And a great
Well,
job means the only defense you have is that you were threatened by the crowd, and that George Floyd was so monstrous in his behavior that this was the only way I could contain him.
yeah, and none of that's the case. I mean, a reasonable mind can't look at this video and think that any of that is the case. I was actually thinking through that quite a bit yesterday. Yes, everyone deserves the right to counsel. That's well established. Everyone deserves the right to presumption of innocence. Again, well established. But to our white brother who was Mr. Chauvin's defense attorney, I'm reminded of what I've heard from pimps, players, and hustlers throughout my whole life, which is all money ain't good money. You couldn't have paid me to do that. And another part of it is Chauvin is not paying for this out of his pocket. This is police union money. So you have to think about what is the state of not just the Minneapolis police unions, but police unions across this country, where they're willing to dig in their pockets, use their member dues to defend the indefensible. And I'm sure that the gentleman, the lawyer, is making a mint. But going forward, this is what he's known for. And that's a choice he made to attach his professional legacy to this. And it's not just that everybody deserves a defense, so you're going to get up there and cross-examine. No, you are trying to discredit people who saw what they saw and who stood there. You are trying to discredit children who witnessed this and were traumatized. We couldn't even see their faces on television because it is illegal to show them on TV. You were sitting here trying to discredit. First of all, I just want to, you know what? Let's, if there is any positive here, let's lift up the true heroes in this situation. So F. Derek Chauvin, F. his defense lawyer, and the police unions. Let's lift up brother Donald Williams. Let's lift up our sister with her dress white firefighter uniform. Let's lift up the sister, 17 years old, who had the courage. I mean, she is a civil rights hero. She should go down with Fannie Lou Hamer and Shirley Chisholm and Septima Clark and all of the great warrior sisters as we close out Women's History March. She earned her place in heaven because she taped that and showed that injustice for the whole world to see. Donald Williams looked that man in the face, an educated lawyer, and said, no, you will not paint me out to be an angry black man. I saw what I saw. And they were poised and professional and measured. And I was so proud of the people who were on the right side of this issue yesterday as they faced what was just an incredibly difficult day with the world watching. Most of us have tough days, but we don't have them with the whole world watching. And I just think they did the whole world proud yesterday.
Yeah, every single one. Courage, grace under fire, and humanity. Each of them at some point teared up as they remembered May 25th, as they remembered that Memorial Day weekend, as they remembered what they saw and what they witnessed. And I could again feel standing there watching, because I was sitting there watching that urine stream and George Floyd take his last breath. And for 4 more minutes, Derek Chauvin refused to get up off his neck, refused to flip him over, refused to administer CPR.
Yeah.
Even when someone offered, can you check his pulse? I'm a firefighter. I can administer CPR. Nothing. Like, to not have the ability to be able to save somebody and to watch someone prevent you from saving someone. The helplessness that runs through all of those witnesses, all of those people who bore witness to that murder. That's what a lot of us feel every time we pass a scene. You see a cops pull over somebody, you want to stop, you want to be involved, but the system is designed for you to not get involved, and that they got involved anyway.
They did.
Speaks volumes about how horrific that day, that what Chauvin did was, because they got involved anyway.
And you have to think about that and contextualize it against the backdrop of Black people's existence in America. It was not long ago at all. It was within our parents' lifetimes and probably yours and my lifetimes in which a person who gets on a stand and points out, yes, that is the man who I saw commit the lynching, that person's lives and their family's lives are also in jeopardy. And we don't even know to this day. I mean, again, the police union, the Minnesota FOP, or excuse me, Minneapolis FOP is paying for George Chauvin's defense, which means theoretically, Derek Chauvin's defense, which means theoretically they approve of his actions, right? They tacitly approve of his actions. So what is to be made of these Minneapolis residents as they go about their lives? Will they be harassed? Will they be pulled over? Will they be beaten? Will they be brutalized by these police who they have stood up against? That is the story of the civil rights movement, is people who were willing to stand up in court like Mose Wright when his nephew Emmett Till was killed in Money, Mississippi in 1955 and say, there he, that's the one who killed him. And we saw that happen over and over yesterday in that Minneapolis courtroom when the prosecuting attorneys say, do you see that man in court today? And you have to stand up and point him out in front of the world, there is he. And they pointed to George Chauvin, and that is an incredibly and intensely courageous act, which we should have to recognize when we talk about this.
Well, we know Ramsey Orta, who was 24 at the time that he filmed the choking death of Eric Garner in Staten Island, was sentenced to 4 years in prison. He was arrested. He was put in handcuffs and arrested during that videotaping of those police officers bringing him down like he was a wildebeest in the jungle, you know, because that's how they see us.
That's right.
Yeah, America's on trial. America's on trial. I don't know whether she's going to be convicted, but I do not want this lone wolf, this anomaly. You know, Derek Chauvin is not an anomaly.
He's not.
You want to know how I know he's not an anomaly? 3 other police officers protected him, allowed him to do it. This is not part of the police. And then when the firefighter tried to come in, they said, you're a firefighter? Well, you know better, basically, than to get involved with what we're doing, because there's a code on these streets. This is what we do.
Yeah. Well, you know, he's not an anomaly, of course, because of the long history and even the recent history of killings of Black people. But we don't even have to go to that. Let's examine this situation to know that Derek Chauvin does not act alone. You have Derek Chauvin. You have the 3 officers who, by the way, had more allegiance to this white man's ability to destroy life and more allegiance to the blue wall of silence than they did to protecting this Black man's life. You have responding EMTs. You have a police secretary who put fingers to typewriter and said that there was an incident and the suspect died as a result of an incident that happened in the ambulance on the way home. So you have folks who concocted a lie. You have folks who are paying for this defense. So there is an entire system which to date, despite what we're seeing on video, has supported Derek Chauvin far more than it ever supported George Floyd or his family since he's been gone. So by no means is Derek Chauvin a lone wolf. He is receiving the support to this day of an entire system which is backing up his actions, and that's despicable.
This is a system-wide issue in your backyard, St. Louis. Police officer Stephen Korte, K-O-R-T-E, or Korte, was acquitted on Monday of deprivation of rights under color of law and for lying to the FBI in the attack against Officer Luther Hall. Hall was mistaken for a protester during demonstrations that erupted after police officer Jason Stockley, who was white, was found not guilty in 2011 after killing Anthony Lamar Smith, who is Black. Hall, who is still with the department, Luther Hall, described the 2017 attack as a free-for-all. He was brutally beaten. And the jury could not reach a verdict on the charge of destruction of evidence against Meyer, who allegedly smashed Hall's cell phone where he videotaped what was happening to him.
Yeah.
The jury also deadlocked on the deprivation of rights charge against the former officer Dustin Boone, who's also involved in the beating, leading the judge to declare a mistrial on counts where the jury could not agree. On Tuesday, Police Chief John Hayden in St. Louis said that the department would begin an internal affairs investigation. How do you investigate yourself when you're part of the problem? And he said it was delayed at the request of the federal prosecutors to avoid compromising the criminal investigation. But again, you know, this is the system behaving the way the system was designed to behave.
Yeah, and again, black officer beaten, black police chief delayed the investigation. You should have had internal affairs investigation 7 years ago when a citizen, cop or not, says he was beaten by 3 officers, black or white. So the system is not broken. It's working as it was designed to. One of the more despicable things about the St. Louis story is that with or without video, there's no debate that this black man, Luther Hall, who happened to be a police officer, was brutally beaten. There's no debate there. The question is, did he deserve it because he was a protester? I mean, I know you can't see me on the radio. Mind blown. There's no dispute that they beat the tarnation out of this man. The question is, were they reasonable in doing so because he was a protester? So what this says is that police have the license to brutalize you within an inch of your life if they believe you are a protester. And protests will continue to happen because it's how civil society moves forward. Just know that if you're in St. Louis, as of yesterday, precedent has been set. You can be grabbed, you can be throttled damn near to death, and the police will get off. And one other thing, I don't know how many St. Louis rebels we got out there in the family today, but can we stop elevating punk ass Scott Rosenblum? Because he's a defense lawyer. He's my colleague in the Missouri bar, Scott Rosenblum and John Rogers. And I'm gonna call them out by their name because they run around throwing parties and half you Negroes want to hang out and sip drinks with them. But this is who they defended. You understand? This is who they putting their professional energies and time and talents towards getting off. And we need to stop idolizing these people who are not on the right side of justice.
You better say that. Don Calloway is in the building. And you can follow him at DC for Don Calloway, STL for St. Louis. So there's that.